big state, and the other side, we have a huge economy made by small and medium companies. We have large companies as well, but the fundamental is in small and medium companies. How do you think we can include or save or protect, if they have to, if they should be saved, this kind of a business? Because we have a transition to go from taking down the state and make the business environment more powerful, and we just had a huge recession here. So how to manage this unbalanced environment now?
You have to be very careful not to try to manage it. It's going to be messy. It's going to be painful. There's no way around that.
It already is.
And it's going to be more. And what you need to do is liberalize, free up, get rid of regulations, get rid of controls, overwhelming in large numbers. And yes, some businesses are going to fail. Some people are going to lose income. That's what Schumpeter called creative destruction. But that's what happens under freedom. But what will arise from that is going to be so much better. It's going to be so much more dynamic and innovative and exciting. And people's attitudes are going to change. Because today, in Brazil, but in any country that's gone through the kind of statism, socialism, central planning, there's a certain passive mentality even among businessmen. Things are the same. They're not going to change because the regulator's protecting me, right? The state is protecting me.
Yeah, that's what happens in Brazil. We are used to have the state to save us for everything.
We need to get rid of that. And until you have that mental change where business becomes what it should be, a challenge, exciting, that you have to actually engage, that you have to work hard, you have to think, you have to produce, you have to innovate, you have to compete, you have to cooperate. You have to do all the things that business do when they're free. We have to get away from this nanny state, from protection, from protectionist policies. And the more you wait to do it, the more, we need to protect them, the harder it's going to be, the more painful it'll be. It's much easier.
Expensive?
Much more expensive it'll be. It's much easier to get over with. Do it quick, do it fast. You know how ripping a Band-Aid? If you do it slowly, it really, really hurts. If you rip it off, it hurts a lot in a minute, but then it starts, the healing, the pain goes away. So the faster you move towards capitalism, the better.
If you would do a list of priorities, should we begin with fighting the bureaucracy, do privatizations, or eliminate some taxes? Is there any list, or should we go with everything at the same time?
I think you have to prioritize, and I would prioritize privatization and cutting regulation, cutting subsidies. So I would prioritize.
We are good at that.
I would
giving subsidies.
Yes, I know you're good at it. That's the cronyism. That's the corruption. That's all the bad stuff that leads to all the negative outcomes. The thing you have to work on is to separate government from business. All the corruption comes from government involvement in business. And now I'm a businessman, I'm trying to protect myself from the government. Well, a bribe here, or a bribe there, or just schmoozing, or just being nice to them. There's all kinds of forms of corruption. Gets me favorable regulation versus bad regulation, gets me favorable deals. You've got to sever that. I would, if you had to do one thing, I would zero out subsidies. So you would say, within 12 months, there are going to be no subsidies in the Brazilian economy. It's not the farmers, not the business owners, not the big business, not the little business, not the medium-sized business. Zero. And then at the same time, we are going to reduce regulations by 25% a year for the next 4 years of the presidency. 25% a year. And at the same time, we're going to privatize. But not privatize like some countries do, where you privatize and regulate. And then you haven't done anything. So you've given the people a sense of private ownership, but the government still controls everything. All the important decisions are still the government's. Privatize means privatize. It means the private sector gets to make all the decisions. So you got to really privatize. And if you do those three things, then then you get rid of bureaucracy because all those regulators don't have a job anymore. You get rid of them and you start shrinking government. Then you tackle taxes and you tackle, you know, maybe the welfare states and other things. Of course, the other side of this, which I think is really, really important, particularly in Brazil, because you have a problem with this, is the rule of law. Nothing matters if you don't have the rule of law. So there has to be a credible way to convey to the people that you have an independent judiciary, that is truly independent of politics, and that it's
power institutions,
that it's uncorruptible. So some judges have to be fired, some judges have to be replaced, and maybe raise their salaries, maybe make it more lucrative to be a judge so that they're less tempted by bribery. But you have to establish the rule of law and then get the government out of the way as quickly as possible. That, and yes, it'll be painful. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. But, you know, now's the time in the first year of administration is the time to do the painful thing. Because as you get closer to re-election, the politicians become more and more sensitive to the voters.
The political capital is
But you get the pain done in the first 2 years, then you'll benefit from the upswing once the election comes around. If you wait, no change will happen.
Mr. Brook,